really interesting email yesterday, well, a message, from somebody who'd seen the last video that I did about the UK economic collapse, and they were looking to invest money, perhaps in gold, perhaps silver, perhaps stamps, and they wanted to know what the pros and cons are. And they also asked me, why not precious gems? Why not diamonds, or sapphires, or rubies? Well, that's the thing I'll cover first, because the problem with diamonds is there's a hell of a lot of them. Now, I know that sounds strange, because you're not used to thinking of diamonds as a very common thing, but believe me, they are. What is uncommon is very large gem quality diamonds, and they're always worth millions each. Now, that little thing that you've got on your engagement ring, even if it's 4 or 5 carats, actually there's millions of them. The thing is that there's a cartel of diamond companies such as De Beers, and they only release a certain number every year onto the market, and this keeps the price artificially high. So the price of diamonds in reality could collapse at any minute, and it's outside the control of things like scarcity, because really they're not very scarce. It's carbon. Carbon is the most common element in the universe. So that's why not diamonds. Well, another reason is the same reason as emeralds and sapphires, and that is that they can be manufactured. There are manufacturing processes now that will manufacture all of these gemstones and do it an awful lot cheaper than mining them. So really precious stones, they're not a very good idea. Now, when you're trying to decide what to actually invest your money in, and it's a good idea to spread it, not just to invest it in one thing or 2 things even, you need to take into account some factors. So we'll have a look. First of all, we'll look at silver. Now, this is a silver eagle, which is an American coin with a face value of $1. Although in reality this coin is actually worth £20. And that shows you something of the inflation that has occurred in the British pound, because the reason the British pound is called a pound, and a pound sterling at that, and silver, remember, is sterling silver, is that a pound used to be a pound of silver. Well, this coin is worth £20 and it's 1 ounce. So that shows you that since the time that a pound was indeed a pound of silver, it has dropped by 16 times 20, and you can work that one out. And that is how much inflation has taken over the pound. So when you're looking at silver, a good thing to remember is weight and volume and how much you've got to invest. Now, this here box is full of coins, but it's British coins. It's just 1p's and 2p's that I've collected, and a few dollar bills and some foreign coins. But if you were to take this box and you were to fill it up with these silver eagle coins, you could fit 156 of these coins into this box. And 156 of these coins would weigh almost 5 kilos. So it'd be pretty heavy. Okay. And the value, excuse me, the value would be around about £3,100. So you could fit £3,100 worth of silver into this small box. Bad? But let's say you had £100,000 that you wanted to take out and put into something a little safer than a bank account. It really wouldn't do, would it? Can you imagine? You'd have to find room for quite a number of these boxes. They weigh a lot. If you wanted to transport it around, it'd be a little bit of a nightmare. So you need something that's smaller and lighter. And really, that's where gold comes in. Now, this, which you're possibly familiar with, is a gold sovereign. Okay, and the current value of this little coin is around £200. And into this box, I've worked out you could fit quite easily, in fact you could fit a few more than, you could fit 500 sovereigns. So you'd have about £100,000 in this box. So you could fit £100,000 into this box using gold sovereigns. Let's say you've got a heck of a lot more than that. What have you got? £1 million? Well, all is not lost, because stamps that are worth between £750 and £1,000 are 10 a penny. And stamps, the value does keep going up, just like artwork, just like gold. So you could convert some or all of your money into stamps, and you could fit £1 million into that little box if you wanted to. Now, the next thing to consider is how easy it is to get rid of it. How easy it is to sell. Now, these coins, there are lots of dealers, internationally, nationally. There's 5 dealers within easy walking distance, for example, of the Leicester Square Underground station, who would be happy to buy these coins, and they're very happy to sell you them as well. So coins are very easy to get rid of, whether they're gold or whether they're silver, doesn't matter. The point, however, comes when you're thinking about what if something does happen, then are you going to be going somewhere and spending £200 a lot of the time? Or the equivalent in chickens or whatever it is that you're bartering for? Or are you more likely to be going somewhere and spending £20? And my gut feel at the moment is that silver, if you're looking at a bartering situation, is a much better bet than gold because of the value difference. And it's interesting to note that the value of small gold coins like this has stayed actually pretty much the same. If you go all the way back to the 1950s, the price of a barrel of oil in gold coins is almost exactly the same as the price of a barrel of oil in gold coins today. Which is another indicator that in actual fact it's the cash, the fiat money, the pound, the dollar, whatever, that has shrunk, and not the value of gold, and not the value of silver. Although the value of the two metals does change with respect to each other, it never changes very much. So if you're looking to spend this hoard, then probably silver is the best bet. If on the other hand you're looking at a hedge against possible currency devaluation over a longer term, and what you're looking to do is to safeguard your savings, wait until after the currency, whatever it is, whether it's the pound or the zloty or whatever new world currency there is actually stabilises and falls out of the tree. Who knows, it might even be Bitcoin or another cryptocurrency, we don't know. But if what you're looking for is to wait until things stabilise and then convert your capital back into that particular currency, then your best bet is most likely to be gold. And there's a lot of reasons for that. One is that gold at the moment is very undervalued in terms of its purchasing power. There's a lot of people going around saying that there is no limit to the price of gold, but that's wrong. I shall do a video shortly about gold and the price of gold and what it is that you need to look at when you buy gold, but they're very wrong about that. There is a limit to the price of gold, and there always traditionally has been, and that is not going to change. It's to do with human perception more than anything else. And so, yes, gold is going to increase. Is owning 100 gold coins going to make you the new currency equivalent of a millionaire when you change it? No, it's not. It could mean that you're actually substantially better off afterwards. It's extremely unlikely that you'd be worse off. And that's what you're looking to do. You're looking to preserve your savings through this future period of uncertainty. And this is why the Chinese, Mr. and Mrs. Wong, they're busy investing in gold, and they're buying something like 2,000 tons a month of gold in China. And that's not the government, that's everyday people. Why are they doing that? Because they know that things are going to fall over. It always does. Every 60 or 70 years a currency goes bust. Every 100 to 200 years there's a global reset and nearly all the currencies go bust. So this is why they're buying gold. Now, if you've got a very large amount of money, it could be that gold doesn't actually make sense because of portability issues. And obviously security, because you need, you need something that's going to take an awful lot of weight, because you're looking at around about 5 kilos per £100,000 worth of gold coins. So if you've got an awful lot of money, then it's not a good deal. The best thing for you is either artwork or stamps. I can't advise an artwork, although I'm an occasional artist. My art is just not worth very much by the looks of it. But I can advise you on stamps. And for disposability, once again, lower value stamps are better. They're easier to dispose of than higher value stamps. But on the other hand, lower value stamps, they're not quite so scarce. Now, one of the things about stamps is that every year stamps are lost. Not so much at the really high end, where stamps are worth like £500,000 each or something, but you're looking at sort of £750 to £1,000 per stamp. They get lost in fires, floods, because obviously they're paper, and paper damages easily, unlike gold and silver. Now, the other way they're lost is, to be honest, that some old guy puts an envelope full of really expensive stamps in a drawer, thinking that he's collected things for his inheritance. The people that inherit it don't realise what it is, open it up and think, oh look, stamps, and throw it in the bin. And that happens more often than you might think. There's a pretty apocryphal story of a London street sweeper who was swooping around the streets of Chelsea and found a small envelope with 16 stamps in it, worth nearly £200,000. And it had been thrown out. It had been on top of whatever was in the bin and blown around. And eventually they found out who they belonged to. People that they belong to are absolutely flabbergasted. But never mind. So that's the basics on what you should be looking at investing in. Property, no. In fact, if I had a big property now, or a property that was worth an awful lot of money, I would be considering selling it pretty quickly, if I could, because property prices at the moment are extremely high, and converting it into something else. The reason why is that when there is any sort of unsettlement, people can't pay their mortgages, property value drops like a stone, and all this money that you've got tied up in bricks and mortar just evaporates. It happened to a lot of people in the 1980s. A lot of people bought houses for 60, 70, 80,000 pounds, and overnight they were worth 30 or 40, maybe half the value, and they were stuck in what was called the negative equity trap. Of course, since then we've had a boom in housing, prices shot up, and then after 2008 they shot down, and prices now shot up again even higher than they were. But there are warnings at the moment, and the warnings are coming from the Bank of England, and the warnings are coming from several international financial bodies that the housing in Britain is overvalued. And it's entirely due to Mr. Campbell and his Help to Sell scheme, as some people are calling it, that are putting a lot of people on the property ladder, creating a false demand for housing which doesn't really actually exist. There's a big demand for rented housing, but not such a demand for purchased housing, because, to be honest, if you were to apply the normal rules of mortgages to a lot of the people that are buying at the moment, they would not actually be able to get a mortgage. There's a very good reason for that, and that is that they're going to default. And history tells us that this is in fact what the banks are hoping that they will do, because if there is a problem, then the banks can grab all of the outstanding debt, because you still have an outstanding debt even if the bank, let's say the bank forecloses on your property. You have a £500,000 mortgage. The bank forecloses on your property, they decide that they want the money, or they want some money right now, so they decide to sell it for £200,000. Does that £300,000 worth of debt go away? No, it doesn't. You still owe the bank £300,000. That is the difference between what they've mortgaged the property for and what you paid for it. And there are mortgages and insurance schemes that do actually work around this, but if you're in a normal cheap mortgage with no insurance against such things happening, then I'm afraid you've got a real problem. This has started to rear its head recently in the US with the so-called robo-signings that there were a few years ago, where banks were automatically foreclosing because they were foreclosing on tens of thousands of properties. And I can see the same thing happening over here. And at the moment there are tens of thousands of properties standing vacant in the US, and the simple reason is the bank knows if they try and sell them all, then the bottom will fall completely out of the housing market. They have no mortgage market then, and also the properties that they are selling in their little trickle at the moment would be worth nothing, as opposed to the 50 to 75% of mortgage value that they're actually getting for them. So I hope this has made you think a little bit. If you have savings, if you have money, think about what you're going to do with it in the future, because as sure as heck, just doing nothing is not going to be an option. Thanks very much. Bye.